It's one of your top stories this morning. The Public Protector Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane has opened a case of crimen injuria and contempt against Minister of Transport Fikile Mbalula after he tweeted that she is a hired gun. Now, Mbalula says he is ready to back up these claims. There are various issues at play here. Let's unpack it for you. We're joined by our panel of guests this morning. Sibanda is an independent constitutional law expert. Andile Lungisa is a former ANC Youth League Deputy President, and Advocate Modidima Mannya is Chief Legal Expert at UNISA. To all of our guests, a very warm welcome to you on this Tuesday morning on the AM Report. And I think I want to begin with you this morning, Rebecca, and talk about the various issues at play here, as there are now questions, and have been for some time, around the integrity of the office of the Public Protector and the person who holds that office, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane. The fact that it's now come down to political mudslinging in some respects, is that surprising for you?
Thank you so much for having me, Michelle. I think the first thing that's important is that South Africans should not be concerned with the politics that surrounds the Public Protector's office. However, because of the way that our government is set up and the factionalism we have begun to see being played out in the ANC, the politics has become inherently involved in how we understand and relate with the office of the Public Protector. Her integrity has indeed come into question, not just because of the political mudslinging, but because of the numerous court cases that have been handed down that have not been in her favor. So I think that the integrity of her office is not just in relation to the politics that is swirling in government at the moment, but it's also very much in relation to the court cases that we have seen played out over the years that have been adverse to her office. And also the separation that we can't seem to find between the office of the Public Protector as a whole, as well as Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane individually. I think that unfortunately, because she is the face of the office, she is the person that we identify and we associate most with the office. But she's not the only person responsible for the recommendations that come out of that office. Also, neither are the most publicized recommendations the only reports that come out of the office of the Public Protector. So I think that we have been pulled into, looking at only the very highly publicized reports. We've been pulled into a political war of some sort that we shouldn't necessarily be concerned with. We should remain concerned with the work. We should let the work speak for itself. So I think that, and perhaps I'm skipping ahead, you can stop me, that's why the motion for her removal is such an important step in, for example, re-establishing her integrity or totally refuting it once and for all.
Yeah. Advocate Mannya, I want to bring you in here because in as much as we can have the discussion around the fact that politics shouldn't come to play when it comes to the office and the workings of the office of the Public Protector, the bottom line is that since that independent panel found that there is sustained evidence of incompetence and misconduct by Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane as head of the Office of the Public Protector, it's now going to come down to a vote in the National Assembly, which comes down to political lines.
Yes, that's correct. But before we get there, I think we need to caution that the problems of the Public Protector are not necessarily related to her and her integrity alone. That the very political parties that are now mudslinging are the ones who have abdicated their responsibilities and took their problems to the Public Protector. There are committees of Parliament that ought to have investigated some of these issues, and they conveniently decided to take the matter to the Public Protector. And I think that the structure of the Office of the Public Protector is going to deliver, regardless of what we do with the current Public Protector. The structure is not suitable for the type of work that is being done. Having said that, yes, it boils down to party lines because our electoral system is based on party political lines. But I think there's a danger that members of Parliament, once they enter Parliament, they take an oath of office to the Constitution, and they are responsible and accountable to Parliament, not to their political parties. I think there's been a distortion over time that these people are in Parliament at the behest of their parties, so their parties can dictate to them whilst they are now performing a public function and not a party political function. I have noted what the Secretary General of the ANC is said to have said, that the members, the principal members of the ANC cannot vote with the enemy. I think that constitutes some sort of incitement to members of parliament to undermine their oath of office and not perform their constitutional responsibilities. The Speaker of the National Assembly appointed a panel headed by a retired judge. It has found that there's a basis for impeachment. It will be very sad and unfortunate, and it will not be left there, if Parliament were to use party political divisions not to apply its mind correctly to the findings and the issues before it and use party political. The matter will certainly head to court, because the National Assembly is still obliged to act rationally when it takes decisions. So it's not about what the party political system wants, but it's about what is going to be rational and what the constitutional responsibilities of the individual members of parliament are. And I think we're probably reaching a stage where we must say to the political parties, they owe us, we don't owe them. We have elected them to, in terms of the constitution and their responsibilities, to carry out our constitutional mandate and not their party political shenanigans.
Yeah, Andile Lungisa, I want to come to you in just a moment, but Advocate Mannya, I just want to hone in on a point that you made there. Do you really believe that politics will not come into play? Surely it plays a major, major role.
Well, I'm saying whether politics come into place or do not come into place, each individual member of parliament of the National Assembly is obliged to carry out their responsibilities in terms of the Constitution. As matters stand, the Speaker of the National Assembly appointed a panel. We want to know why the findings and recommendations of that panel will be ignored at the altar of political party expediency. If that were to happen, citizens have a right to take the National Assembly to court. So I don't care whether there are politics or there are no politics. We want a rational decision from the National Assembly. If the public protector has not committed any impeachable offense, let it come out very clear, and she must not be victimized or antagonized in the same way that she must not be supported along petty political factional lines.
Yeah. Andile Lungisa, let's bring you in here because, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, you've been quite an ardent supporter of Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, and it's ironic because that independent panel that looked into her fitness to hold office and found that there is a case for misconduct and incompetence against Advocate Mkhwebane, it actually turned to the most damning adverse finding against her, and that was, or at least one of them, that was the ABSA Bancorp matter. But in fact, if I'm right, you're saying that this is the matter that is leading to this sort of vendetta, if you want to call it, against the public protector.
No, thank you very much. I think all of us who are not surprised that the agents of the white monopoly capital are targeting a strong woman who has fearlessly confronted the criminality of white-owned banks, like we have mentioned, the issue of ABSA and other reports which were never attended before. She's also being targeted because she has exposed even a plot by white business interests to capture even our own movement leading up to the Nazareth conference, if you will also remember the 1 billion funding. We are talking about a woman who is black, who is very strong, who have been vilified, who have been attacked by all fronts, especially by the white-owned media. If you remember, the Nazi Germany lies were repeated at a number of times. When lies are repeated a number of times, people, they will think it's truth. Is what we'll get from even our own black-owned analysis, confirming all the lies, proclaiming those lies as truth. Even if you talk about the retired judge, you must remember in this country from 1994, we said let's transform all organs of people's power, including the judiciary, which must be transformed. Those who have retired, they are part of the old order, were never really transformed. But today we are using people who are untransformed to put together reports. And then we expect those reports that they'll be clear, those reports that they'll be fair.
Andile, can I interrupt you for just a second, because I want to hone in on the issue that you raised about this perceived vendetta against the public protector by certain parts of the media, by, as you say, white monopoly capital. Let's talk about the merits of some of the cases here. That panel that found that there is prima facie evidence against the public protector of incompetence and misconduct. So it used the issue of the Absa Bank Corp matter. And the panel noted, for example, the issue of perceived bias raised by the courts in particular, because the public protector in the Absa Bank Corp matter failed to disclose that she had, in fact, been in conversation with the then president, Jacob Zuma, before arriving at her conclusion on that matter. In another issue around the Vrede Dairy Farm project, another example, it found evidence of misconduct or at least gross negligence. She failed to investigate the misappropriation of funds in that Vrede Dairy Farm project. She also gave the former premier of the Free State, Ace Magashule, who was implicated in that story as well, the discretion to point out the officials who should indeed be probed for wrongdoing. So on the merits of these cases alone, no matter who the public protector is there not some question that needs to be asked?
No, the proper processes were followed by the public protector, but it depends in this country where we are standing. If we can see the attack which is directed now to Judge Lope, based on the judgment which he gave around the issue of Advocate Bongo, a retired judge called Triga decided to wake up and attack a sitting judge. It's what we have in this country. The media, they are doing the same. It's what is being done to the public protector, because the public protector have worked diligently. She has worked and led that office, but the courts